Thanks for joining us on this Sunday. The House of Commons has adjourned for the summer. MPs passed 15 bills, including the long-awaited C-70, the Countering Foreign Interference Act. In it, a foreign agent registry, new criminal charges, and more powers for federal police. For more on all of that, I spoke with RCMP Commissioner Mike Duheme on Friday. Commissioner, thank you so much for making the time.
Good morning, Rosemary. Thank you for having me.
I'm going to dive right in because you've been very busy and you've been answering a lot of questions, and of course I have lots more as well. One of the things that came out of the NSICOP report, or one of the reactions to the NSICOP report, was the RCMP saying you too had learned new information in that report. I wonder, maybe you can't tell me what information was new to you, but whether that information would have made any difference in investigations that are ongoing.
Not really, Rosemary, and I'll limit my comments to it. And sometimes it's not abnormal to find out information that we didn't have at the time from another agency. So I'll just leave it at that. But when we have the necessary information to launch a criminal investigation, we will launch a criminal investigation.
Did the report provide new avenues for you based on the fact that you didn't have all of the information that was there?
Well, what the report did is being seized with the information. We circled back with the service just to cover certain points as to is there any further development there that could warrant a criminal investigation. So that's where we're at right now.
So I mean, this kind of leads us to what has been a central issue through the past couple of years now, and that's the use of intelligence as evidence. A complicated issue between the RCMP and CSIS. So first, give me your thoughts on what would resolve that. How can we get to the point where intelligence is useful for you in order to create evidence and investigate and then lay charges if needed?
Yeah, there are currently, under the Canada Evidence Act, ways to protect certain information, but I think we have to look at a manner that we can really isolate the information and really protect it, because it is challenging sometimes when we received information, it cannot be used for a criminal investigation, but yet we're seized with the information. And again, we have an excellent relationship with the service. We know each our lanes, and we know sometimes it's a challenge and it's frustrating. But this is not only with the service, because international partners as well will share information that we can't bring into criminal investigation. So I think we got to bring these people who are far more smarter than me at the table and see how do we isolate that and move it and introduce it into a criminal investigation. But you know what? It's not an easy fix because we've been at it for several years.
You have floated the idea that the government should consider changing legislation to allow you to use intelligence as evidence. Obviously, there are issues with intelligence, right? It's not always as solid or as credible as evidence is. But what have your discussions with the government been on that front?
Well, we were involved. My team was involved when they were drafting the bill C-70.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to get into details of the suggestion that we made. But it is something that's at the forefront. The minister is well aware. The service is well aware, and it's a matter of just continue to push forward and trying to find a solution.
What is the biggest hurdle then? Is it the fact that intelligence is not always credible, or is it sort of exposing sources and information, or other countries even? What is the biggest hurdle for you in terms of when you get that stuff, or sometimes when you don't get it at all?
Well, there's a couple things, and I remember the director of the service, David Vigneault, saying intelligence is just a bunch of little puzzles that when you put it together, you actually see the full picture.
Sure.
The concern that we've always had, and security agencies always had, is a criminal justice system is this full and frank disclosure. And when you use intelligence into a criminal proceedings, if it's full and frank disclosure, well, you might be disclosing special techniques, you might be disclosing sources, and you don't want to go there, and you want to maintain, the trust not only of our Canadian partners, but also of international partners. So how can we isolate that information, but still be part of the criminal procedure? Like I said, this is not an easy solution because we've been at it for over 10 years.
The fact that there are currently people who are demanding the government release the names of parliamentarians cited in that unredacted version of the NSICOP report, how do you feel about the prospect of that happening?
Well, I'll let the government decide how they see best to do this, but I am concerned if we're starting to disclose secret or top secret information. Again, it puts in peril, it could put in peril tradecraft, partnership, especially international partnership. I'm one that I appreciate the fact that parliamentary privilege is something, and I just know about 5% of parliamentary privilege. But I think we have to be mindful how that information is shared. I don't brief the Minister of Public Safety on every single that we have, because I think there's a need to know and then a right to know, right? And there comes a threshold that, yes, I'll bring the minister in and brief him on a file, but I don't brief him on every single file. And I think we just have to approach this very cautiously.
What is your understanding then if someone, if an MP got up inside the House of Commons under parliamentary privilege and decided to reveal this information? What's your understanding of what your role would be as Commissioner of the RCMP? You couldn't do anything, or you could do something?
Well, I'm inclined to say that would be a challenge for us. If it was out in the public domain, it'd be different because you're disclosing top secret information or secret information. Let's hope we don't have to cross that, that road.
Previously, the Deputy Commissioner, I believe it was Commissioner Flynn, said there were more than 100 foreign interference investigations ongoing. How much has that number changed now? Are you able to say that or give me a sense?
I don't have a sense exactly where we're at, but we both Mark and I were at Parliamentary Committee when we shared those numbers, and you gotta put in perspective that it was not just purely foreign interference, it's influence as well. We're dealing with PS 752, some pressures on the family, so it's a combination of several files across the country.
How challenging is it to be dealing with these issues of foreign interference, foreign influence, threats, as you say, to family members, on top of all the other things that the RCMP is required to do in terms of national policing?
So from a foreign interference, foreign influence, the mandate belongs to our federal policing unit that looks after everything national security. And it is, I'll be frank, it is a challenge with when it comes to resources. And it's also a challenge of getting people to come forward to talk to us. People sometimes come from different parts of the world, and the mistrust in police is present. So we have to build the relationships with community, make them feel safe, and have people come forward and help us with the investigation, because we can't do this alone. We need people to come forward.
I'll get back to the issue of federal policing, because I know that is a challenge too. But on the issue of C-70, which you say that you contributed to the conversations around what that legislation would be, in particularly the foreign agent registry, how much of a difference do you think, Commissioner, that will make in terms of your ability to actually charge someone with foreign interference?
Well, I think this is good news. Anytime there's additional tools that are provided to law enforcement to do their work, I think this is good news. We'll have to see how that pans out as we move forward. But again, it would be an offence which we didn't have before. So it's interesting for us, and we'll have to adapt as we go along.
Do you think it'll lead to actual prosecutions in the future?
Oh, like any investigation, we're looking at prosecution, the end goal, but we're also looking at disruption if we don't get enough for prosecution.
Sure. Sure. When I spoke to Jody Thomas, the former National Security Advisor for the PM before she retired, we talked a little bit about some of the people who had been leaking that top secret information, CSIS information, to media. She was very confident those people would be found, or person would be found and charged. And I'm wondering whether you have any updates on the status of that investigation.
Yeah, I will not provide an update on the investigation, but we take these complaints very seriously, and I think people sometimes undermine the impact they have when they do share sensitive information. The impact it has for trust in Canadian institutions, but the impact also that we have with international partners who sometimes provide us information.
Let's go back to the federal policing question, because as I said, the RCMP has to do a lot. You do all this policing in your subcontracting with provinces, and sometimes that leads to serious challenges for the federal policing part. We understand that the government is planning to sort of hive off the federal policing portion to allow you to have your own budget, your own mandate, and your own members. I'm wondering what you can tell me about what difference that would make, or what you know about how that might unfold.
Well, we've been, from an RCMP perspective, we've been doing transformation work for the last 2 years with regards to federal policing, changing structures, changing governance. And right now there's an appetite from the minister, who actually wrote to his counterparts in the provinces and territories, that we want to dive a little bit deeper into federal policing and see how we can, I guess, make it, strengthen it would be a good word as we move forward.
But you still remain dedicated to the provincial policing in those subcontracts, if I understand correctly.
That's for sure. We have 3 key mandates. That's contract and Indigenous policing, which we have across Canada with the exception of Quebec and Ontario. We have special police services that provide national police services to all police jurisdiction, as well as our federal policing mandate.
And could that be done quickly, what we're talking about here, Commissioner? Could you get that done in a matter of years, or how big a project is this?
Well, if I had a magic wand, I'd want it in place by tomorrow. We're going step by step. We're working with the provinces and territories, working with the minister's office, working with our folks within the organization to move things along. Sometimes it could be challenging when you look at policies and legislation, but there's a strong desire on just shifting the overall footprint of the organization when it comes to federal policing.
Commissioner, always nice to see you. Thank you for making the time, sir.
Thanks for having me, Rosemary.